University of Alberta Students' Union. Welcome to the first SUBstage Forum. The races contested for today's SUBstage Forum are President, Vice President External, Vice President Academic. Tomorrow at noon we will be having the second SUBstage Forum. The races contested tomorrow will be Vice President Operations and Finance, Vice President Student Life, the Board of Governors Representative, and the UPass Referendum Yes side. Thank you all for coming today. For those of you who are following us, hopefully on the live stream, we'll be live streaming this event at su.ualberta.ca/video, and we will have this video up on YouTube later on today, hopefully. So the format for the forum will be each candidate will get 2 minutes to speaking term at the beginning, and then followed by an opportunity to ask their opponents a question, and the question is 30 seconds long, and then the others will have an opportunity to respond with a 1-minute response, and then the candidate who asked the question will have an opportunity to rebuttal with 1 minute. After the debate is over, candidates will have the opportunity to answer with 1-minute responses prepared from the audience, from me, and then if you would like to ask a question on Twitter, please use the hashtag UASUVote, and we'll be having questions from Twitter as well. So let's get this show started right away. We'll start with the race for Vice President Academic. Woo!
Hey everyone, my name's Dustin. Can you all hear me? Nice. Who's listening? Hands up. Who's listening? Nice. There's like 20 people. I'll try and keep it short though. My name's Dustin, running again for Vice President Academic of the Students' Union. Previously worked as Vice President Academic and President of the Science Society here on campus. Last year known for working on things like extending the withdrawal deadline, clarifying the grading policy, and rebuilding the academic relations group. But I think another term will give me an opportunity to solve some bigger problems. In particular, cheaper textbooks, better professors, and a bureaucratic university. Interested in working with the bookstore to help reduce prices, but also increase access to ebooks. Interested in working with the Center for Teaching and Learning to connect more professors with professional development experiences. I think we've all had an experience with bad exams or a professor who just didn't even know our name, and I think the Center for Teaching and Learning can address those problems. Lastly, we had 31,000 undergrads on campus this year. I think the university is starting to get too bureaucratic. I think we need student-centered services, and that the university needs to better understand that we're students, essentially, not numbers. So, if you think that a university should be more of a life-changing experience, please get in contact with me. chellan@ualberta.ca. You can find out more about me on my website, chellan.ca. But looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Thank you. So the next race will be the race for Vice President External. I'm going to start counting now.
Hi everybody, my name is Adam Woods. I'm running for the position of Vice President External, which means that if elected, I get to represent all you fine students to the governments, all levels, municipal, provincial, and federal. I'm running on 3 main platform points this year, the first being mental health. In total, the province funds about $10.4 million over the next 3 years into all the public institutions across Alberta, and that's it. That's all the mental health funding that we receive, and this is actually a new thing, this direct funding, and it's something that we need to both continue and hope to increase, because mental health is really a huge issue on campus, as has been proven by numerous different studies. The second issue is student employment. I don't know how many of you have heard, but the summer temporary employment program was just cut a couple of days ago, or rumored to be cut a couple of days ago, that is. Which will likely happen. This program funds all sorts of students during the summer. If any of you have worked for the city of Edmonton or through Green Shack, that's where your job funding comes from. And many of you don't even know that your job is funded by STEP during the summer, but unfortunately many students will find out later on here, and it's important that we get this program back. Finally, who knows what mandatory non-instructional fees are? Is anybody here? I see like 1, 2, again, hacks and gateway and more hacks. Mandatory non-instructional fees is what the university charges you on top of tuition. In 2009, the government created a tuition cap stating that tuition could not rise past inflation. However, the university didn't like this answer. They said, we're just going to make other fees, make them mandatory. All of you right now pay around $300 a year for walking on their floors and opening their doors, and that is not an exaggeration. That is what the description of the fee is. So those are my big 3 points. Again, my name is Adam Woods. If you want to see the rest of my platform or more information, please go to www.woodsforexternal.ca, and thanks for listening. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you. The next race is the race for president. We will start with Petros. And I'm going to start counting now.
Hi there, everybody. My name is Petros Kuzma, and I'm running for Students' Union President. So quite often I get people ask me, Petros, when are you going to graduate? You're in 5th, 6th, 7th year. Why are you running again? Why are you so passionate? And then I started by telling them that I truly believe a good president embodies 2 things. The first is the ability to follow past initiatives, to get the work that has been set for before them done. And the second thing is having a president who's ambitious enough to propose big new ideas to better the undergraduate experience here at the UVA. Now, with all that said, it's kind of hard not to run for president when you feel like you embody those 2 traits. Next year is going to be a huge year for the Students' Union. We have large projects materializing, from sub-renovations to large advocacy issues happen, from Lister to provincial governments, and we need to make sure that we have a president who has an amazing amount of experience with the student and dealing with these issues. Now, I've spent, 4 years being a counselor. I've spent my 5th year on Students' Council as a vice president of student in sectors and multiple groups, and I have the experience necessary to challenge these issues. But the second and more important part, I believe, is that students deserve a president who's going to be ambitious enough to propose new ideas. Right? You need students deserve a president who's going to do more than simply follow past initiatives, and that's why I have a whole bunch of new ideas I want us to start looking into, so that we can plant the seeds of change for now and hope that future generations of students will benefit later on. That goes from funding student groups better, to providing greater opportunities for students who have nonprofit to entrepreneurship pursuits outside of campus, to all the way of things advocating for something like called law courses that the University of Calgary has. So if you want to read up more on my platform, I recommend you check out votepetros.com. And if you're interested in a more daring and determined Students' Union, I'd recommend that you vote me, Petros Kuzma, for president next year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next candidate will be Horse with a Gun. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next up is candidate Sadiq Sumar.
Cool. So before I get into but I was going to say I think just two important things are important to note. First thing is I didn't know horses could talk. The second thing is, if you notice, there are now 3 horses instead of just 2, so they're multiplying. This campus militia is growing, so good work, Horse with a Gun. Anyways, basically I think all of you have had a chance, hopefully all of you have had a chance to see my platform. It's all over my posters. It's on my website, www.votesadiq.ca. But I wanted to talk to you all about the 3 main drivers behind my platform. The first one is affordable education, making sure that education is something that every student in Alberta or across Canada or across the world can afford. Right now we have the lowest participation, our province has the lowest participation in post-secondary education, so I want to see all the barriers to that be removed, and making sure that education is affordable is one of those barriers. Second thing is campus pride, making sure that students actually feel like they belong on our campus, making sure that students actually feel at home on our campus is something that's important. A lot of students come to class, come to labs, come to seminars, but they don't connect. They don't connect with our campus, and I think that's something that's very important. Making sure that students are engaged is something that's very, very important. The third thing is campus care, making sure that students, once again, feel at home, feel welcome. They feel like campus is accepting of them, but also providing them with the support they need and making sure that those students are healthy, both physically and mentally, making sure that we can accommodate that. Basically the three reasons why I want to run to be your president, or I'm running to be your president, is the first one is I'm very passionate about the Students' Union and about our university. I've been here for quite some time, just like Petros, and I'm very passionate about our institution. The second thing is I have a ton of experience in a whole bunch of different areas of our institution. And the third one is I have a fresh outlook on things. Our institution is lagging in a bunch of areas, and I'd like to see those areas covered.
Thank you.
Vote Sadiq.
Thank you. Sadiq, you will have the opportunity to ask your opponents a question. You have 30 seconds for your question. Yes, you will have 1 minute to rebuttal after the answer.
How long do I have for my question? Sorry,
30 seconds.
Okay.
Starting now.
My question to the other 2 presidential candidates is, what is your take on the incident that occurred on June 15th? And what will you do to prevent that incident in the future? That's my question.
And first up is Petros.
Thanks for the excellent question. I believe and I hope that what you're speaking in regards to is the shooting that took place in Hub. Now, that's something I'm actually quite focusing a lot on in my platform in regards to making sure that when it comes that we're properly supporting our residences. This has been something that the Hub Community Association has been advocating for nearly over half a decade now, that there's no security in the over 50 stairwells that they have in their building. And it makes no sense. Students are endangered. There have been sexual assaults happening. There have been people who felt like they're not even safe in their own homes. We're having a whole bunch of students feeling like they're not safe in their own homes, and I feel like that's a big issue. So, Students' Union, we need to be making sure that we're not supporting just one residents association, but all of them in regards to their advocacy issues. And I feel like that's one big one, especially with Hub. So thanks for the excellent question, and look forward to
10 seconds. Next up is Horse with a Gun.
Safe Walk needs to be implemented more on campus. All students who exit any building at any time must be accompanied by Safe Walk. There is no rule, and if any student is seen alone, they will immediately be disqualified from this campus. Woo! Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Safe Walk.
Thank you. And then Horse with a Gun will have an opportunity to ask a question for the other 2 candidates now. Oh, sorry. My bad. Mr. Sumar has a chance to rebuttal now.
So a couple things. I think the first thing, as Petros pointed out, is working with the Hub Community Association, working with the residents associations, making sure that our residents is safe. Working with ancillary services in that regard is also important. The second one is right after the incident, the university started to compile a report on what they could do better. Unfortunately, the real meat and potatoes of that report has not been revealed to the Students' Union. We've seen a number of recommendations come out, but all those recommendations, to me, are quite frivolous. And I think we need to actually take action and figure out what's in that report, and figure out what we can do to make sure that our residences are more safe, especially those that are open 24 hours a day, like Hub. I don't know how much time I have left.
20 seconds.
Cool. Follow me on Twitter, @VoteSadiq. www.votesadiq.ca is my website. March 6th and 7th, don't forget to vote. Sadiq Sumar for SU President. Thank you.
All right. The next opportunity to ask a question is horse with a gun. Your time limit is 30 seconds to ask the question.
As a horse, I don't eat meat. And I want to know what you are going to do to make it so that there's more hay products on campus for other herbivores like myself. Also, have you ever ridden a horse? Because if so, I'm a top.
Thank you. The first person to answer the question will be Sadiq Sumar.
All right, to answer those questions in reverse order, in terms of have I ever ridden a horse? Yes, I have. I'm sorry. Okay, I've only ridden a horse once. It was when I was in grade 5, and I thought it was really dangerous, and I had a really small horse, so I think it's scarred me for life, and I'll never ride a horse ever again. In terms of providing more hay products, not too sure about that. If you could point me to like a hay provider, I think that would be great. Providing hay products or, yeah, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, hay products. If they're needed on campus, then we should get them. Yes, that's all.
Thank you. Next up is Petros Kuzmin.
Thanks for the excellent question. Have I ever ridden a horse? No, but I have ridden a camel and a donkey before. Horses aren't really prevalent in Northeast Africa, where I spent part of my life in, but yeah, no horses. But in regards to hay, I feel like this is something we can incorporate for the sub-renovations project and try and see if we can have hay perhaps on the ceiling being grown or something like that. So that's something that I feel like is worth looking into, and we want to make sure that campus is a safe space and a welcoming space to all individuals and non-humans too. So, here.
Thank you. And then candidate for horse with a gun will have a chance to rebuttal.
I hate camels, so I'm pleased to hear you've never ridden a camel. As for hay products, I think that kind of goes in the category of vegetarian. So as a vegetarian, I'm still unimpressed with the other candidates' replies. Thank you. Nay.
Thank you. All right, up next, candidate Petros Kuzmin will have the opportunity to ask his opponent's question. Please keep it to 30 seconds.
Thank you. So my question for the other candidates is, well, let me preface it actually. So the provincial government is considering doing cutbacks in post-secondary education. What is your strategy for handling with that?
Thank you. First to respond will be horse with a gun.
Cut all arts programs. Eliminate humanities building from our campus because art students cannot hold their weight once they've graduated. Cut all art scholarships because, once again, art students don't do anything. That's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is candidate Sadiq Sumar.
Yeah, great question, Petros. Great question. I think really the stance of the government and the way I would approach it is really based on the conversation with Premier Redford that occurred yesterday, in which he said clearly and very plainly that tuition would not go up, and that basically the budget pitfalls that they currently face would not be on the backs of students. So I think that's something very important to consider. In terms of real strategy, I'd work with the agent of the government, which is the Board of Governors at the university, and show the governors that the university isn't a business. I think one president, who's actually President Rory Tai, did a good job of actually connecting with the governors and showing them that the institution is really just that. It's a place of higher education, it's a place of higher learning, and making sure that we show the governors that it's a place where students get to learn and get to expand their range and grow. So I think that's a very important thing to consider when discussing matters with the Board of Governors.
Thank you. All right, and now Petros will have a chance to rebuttal.
So while it's good to hear that tuition isn't going up, I think one of the bigger issues is fees. Tuition normally stays capped at CPI, but it's the unaccountable mandatory non-instructional fees that we have here, such as the cost fee, that makes it really worrisome for students. It's a matter of whether the government's going to regulate that or not. And in terms of the Board of Governors, there's not really much we could be doing there, but what I feel like we could be doing with the Board of Governors is we could be starting to establish alliances with not only them, but with faculty associations across the province, student associations across the province, and other organizations to have a front when it comes to the government when talking about how important it is to invest in post-secondary education. That's the strategy of how we're going to approach the government when it comes to this issue, making sure that we can bridge alliances with other stakeholders who also care about this issue in the province and approaching the government with that. But yeah, thank you. That's essentially it. Go Petros for President.
10 seconds.
So, yeah.
Thank you. All right, well, this is the prepared area. We will now open this mic over here for questions. Anyone can come up and ask a question for the candidates. Please state the race you would like to ask a question to. Please ask a question to the race, not to a specific person. And if you don't have any questions, then I will be doing the asking question, which my questions are pretty boring, I can assure you. So I would like to encourage all of you to come to the mic and ask questions. You can also do it on Twitter at #UASUvote. Nobody? All right. Oh, we have one.
I have a question.
Can you use the mic over there?
I have a question for the race of the Vice President Academic. As Vice President Academic, how will you help President Horst implement the strategies of militarization on campus and privatization? Also, how will you make this campus more accessible to Horst folks like myself?
Thank you.
Thanks, Horst, for the question. I have a terrible sense of humor, so I have no idea how to address this. I mean, like, I think expanding the roads is helpful for horses. I focus on the details. That's what I've done last year, and that's what I'll do again this year as Vice President Academic. I genuinely think road size is a huge barrier to horse accessibility on campus. How are you supposed to navigate your way through campus, through the halls? I mean, I can't even get into CSIS in 10 minutes. How is a horse supposed to get into CSIS? So I think we need to build friendlier buildings that can accommodate all of the different members of our campus, particularly our horse friends. In terms of how do we support increasing militarization of our students, that's what faculty associations are. They're little armies for me, essentially, that can fight the university but at a lower scale. So I think not only do we need to equip the student unions, but also faculty associations with the resources to fight for students and for horses.
All right, thank you. Are there any more questions? Okay, I'll ask a question. Oh, we have one.
I have a question for the presidential candidates. I was just wondering what your plan is for better representing the smaller and underrepresented faculties on campus. Because the faculty is larger, like science or engineering or arts, does it mean that their interests are necessarily more important? And like, why should and just as like a corollary to that, like why should I have to pay to like the Business Students Association or something, or like child entrepreneurs or whatever? Like why is that? Why should I pay fees for that?
All right, thank you. First up is Petros Kuzmin.
Cool, thank you for the excellent question, Eric. So there's two parts to it. First is representing smaller faculties on campus. I think a large part of that would be working with the Vice President Academic and ensuring that's taken care of, and providing better support to them with finances, let's say with student groups, and regularly meeting up with them and engaging on what are some of the advocacy issues that they're facing for. But the second part of their question is kind of the part that I'm a little bit more interested in regards to saying why you should pay for entrepreneur students in the BSA, and I don't think you should. I don't think you should. I think what should be interesting is we can explore new and different ways for engaging students on campus and provide them opportunities, not just business students, but everyone opportunities to get engaged with opportunities that have their scope beyond campus. Now, other campuses already do this. They provide support for students who have, let's say, nonprofit ideas, who have entrepreneurship ideas, and it's not just business students. It's other students. And I think that's something that we can consider for Students Union, expanding and kind of ways for students to get engaged on campus. So I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is candidate Horse with a Gun.
Since there will be no more arts programs on the campus and no more BSA, there won't be any more large, unimportant, unsuccessful faculties for you to give your money to. The smaller faculties will have the opportunity to prove themselves. If you don't prove yourself, well then too bad. Woo!
Thank you. Up next is Sadiq.
Great question, great question. So I think one thing that I'd really like to work on this year, that I think the current president is trying to do somewhat, is really connecting with faculty associations, but also the student groups within those faculty associations. So developing a more personal relationship with those faculties, with those students and those faculties, I think that's something that's important. I think that's something that contributes to those students and their experience on our campus and making sure that we represent everyone. Something interesting that I remember being brought up at the last year's election was talking about some Aboriginal student issues. Unfortunately, I tried to connect with those different groups, but they haven't got back to me and they haven't been in touch with me, but I'd love to talk to them. So if any of you are listening out there, I'd appreciate you dropping me a line and we can chat about stuff. In terms of funding the BSA and entrepreneurial programs, things like that, I completely agree with Petros. You shouldn't have to pay for those if you're not a business student.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's it.
Thank you. All right. We have one question. All right.
So this is just a question for the presidential candidates. I was just wondering your opinions on working with ETS to getting the escalator down at the LRT station fixed as soon as possible. Thank you.
We'll start with candidate Horse with a Gun.
All you have to do is push aside the banner and walk up the escalator. It's a staircase.
Next up is Sadiq.
It's funny that question came up because earlier, Andy Chima, our Vice President of Operations and Finance, said that this would be a defining issue in the election, the escalators that don't work. Basically, in working this year on the UPass program with ETS and the transit providers, I have very close relationships with those people. And unfortunately, I don't go and use the trains every day, so I'm not aware that they're broken. But thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll pass that on to ETS when I see them next. And make sure that that's something that is maintained, because having a large portion of our students, I'd probably say over 50% of our students commuting to campus every day, potentially using public transit, making sure that that service is available to them and is working, I think is something that's extremely important. But like, of course, what the gun said, there's also a staircase, so that also contributes to your physical well-being. So use a staircase. Thanks.
Thank you. Up next is Petros.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to use the whole use a staircase argument, because I take the train often to Amanda. There are just some days where the posts are so heavy, you just got to use the escalator. That's just the truth. But with that being said, I don't see why it would be difficult at all to simply send ETS a letter and work with next year's Vice President of Student Life and foster those relationships with ETS and bring this issue up already. This is an issue I've been hearing from students, and it's one that I think we can simply tackle by trying to make some advocacy efforts, from letter writing to raising this issue in the meetings that we do have with ETS. So yeah, I feel like this is a worthwhile issue to fight for.
Thank you. All right, do we have any other questions? Do you have a question for the Vice President External race by any chance?
No.
Can I ask a question for the Vice President External race before you do?
Go for it.
All right, thanks. So my question will be, can you justify the cost of the Students' Union membership in the Canadian Alliance of Students Association?
Thank you for the question, and absolutely I would say that I would be able to justify it. At the end of the day, it is extremely important that as a Vice President External, if elected, I would not only be lobbying on behalf of University of Alberta students, but that I would be able to get together with other student leaders from across Canada and across the province through both CAUSE and CASA, our provincial and federal lobbying groups, and it's a lot easier when you can work together with other representatives, and it's a lot easier when you can go into a room with a politician and have 3 or 4 of you instead of just one. And I feel that that is a way that you can really get your issues across a lot more clearly, as has been shown in the past. It's also true that politicians are a lot more willing to sit down with provincial and federal groups and large groups of students. They'd rather meet with you all at once rather than separately and individually. So I think just for the sheer sake of getting our points across to the government, it is absolutely important that we pay these membership fees to these organizations, and that we continue to do so that our voices are heard with the government, because they really do need to be. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. This is maybe a question for VP Sternlight, but I'm going to ask it to the president candidates. Across Canada, there seems to be a rise in mental health issues with university-age young adults. What do you think is the main cause, and what would you do to better mental health on campus?
All right, thank you. First up is Petros.
Thanks a lot for the extremely interesting question in regards to mental health. I think one of the big causes for mental health issues is, well, it's hard to say what is the one big cause for mental health issues. There's a variety of issues. There's, let's say, with academics, people not being able to cope well with, let's say, their first year in university. There's also finances as well. There's also personal relationships. It's just a matter of having the systems in place to support students while they go through those hard times. We've seen the provincial government invest millions of dollars into this recently. Right now, I think one of the best ways that we can help improve mental health on campus is perhaps through 2 ways. Make sure that we work collaboratively with the university and ensure that these mental health dollars that the provincial government gave us is spent wisely. And the second issue is trying to make sure that we still work towards advocating for a fall reading week. Because we all understand that having one is going to significantly reduce the mental strain on students. So that's kind of the 2 ways that I've challenged this, and I appreciate you asking the question. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Next up is Horsberga.
The number one reason of mental health issues is arts. How many sad songs have you listened to? How many sad movies have you listened to? How many times have you cried when you were reading a book? By eliminating all arts on campus, we will also eliminate the feeling of sadness and the feeling of anger. By using propaganda, course-related material, we will be able to create our own feelings here, and without the arts department, we will have no more theater to make us cry and no more music to make us feel sad memories, like when my parents were killed in a glue factory. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Sadiq.
Cool. I think one of the biggest causes of mental health issues generally is just stress. Being overburdened at your institution, within your social life, etc., etc. I'm very cognizant of this. I'm an engineering student, so stress is something that I have to deal with on a daily basis, and it sucks. But I think that's one of the major causes. I think there are a few others as well. But further to what I would do as president in terms of addressing those issues, the first thing is fall reading week, yes, but making sure that students have academic support supplied to them, and they feel supported during that fall reading week, implementing some academic programs, and expanding the program that we currently have called Take Back the Term, making that a full week, and also providing some student advisors on hand, making sure that students know what their schedules are going to look like in the upcoming sort of little while. Pet therapy is also great, and also I'm attending a conference on mental health March 15th and 16th, so we'll have a lot more ideas after that.
Thank you. All right. Do you have any more questions? What race?
The VPA.
All right.
I'm just wondering what your plan is for lobbying the government to support, lobbying the university, to support more holistic education. And I'm sort of thinking of the community service learning and sustainability certificates that you maybe will.
Oh, yeah, no, that's an awesome question. Holistic learning. The way I phrase that is sort of a liberal arts education. I mean, the world's changing so quickly. And to just be an accredited engineer or just an accredited business degree isn't enough. You need to be able to think critically, analyze new information, have a sense of ethics that you rely on. And so one of the projects that I've worked that my predecessors started is working on developing student attributes into every undergraduate degree program throughout the course of your program. That's one thing. Other things, addressing barriers to experiential learning. It's costly. I don't know where to go if I want to work in the community or study abroad. And lastly, I think we need to work with professors so that they understand the value of holistic learning experiences, the value of exposing you to new ideas, that you shouldn't just sit in a class and memorize ideas, but that you should come out of university as a
10 seconds.
So, thanks for the question, though.
Thank you. All right, do we have any more questions? No? Okay, I'll ask a question. This will go to the president race. Communication with students is traditionally part of the Students' Union long-term strategy. What do you think of the current relationship with campus-based media like Gateway and the CJSR, and how would you use them as means of communicating with the student population? We will start with Petros.
Campus-based media, CJSR, the Gateway, are integral to the student experience that we have on campus, and especially is integral to making sure that we have a strong and successful student government, because we need people to be constantly questioning us. So I think the ways that we can better collaborate with them, and ways that we can make sure that we're more in tune with one another and communicate with one another, is through us finding ways that we can include, for instance, SUB-TV, meeting with them more regularly. Those are some of the things that I consider, but perhaps even just meeting with them and seeing ways that we can foster a better relationship with them and seeing how we can work off of that. So actually asking what they would think would work best in terms of that, and seeing if we can work off of that.
Thank you. All right, up next is Horsulika.
We have already tried numerous attempts to buy out the Gateway, but unfortunately they have yet to accept our offer. I think it is important to have one campus media, and that media which I would control personally. I would read all the articles. How many opinions does one person need? You just need one voice to listen to, and that is mine. So next year, expect to see a new media on campus. First with the Gov. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. And next is Sydney.
So I think first of all, I think it's great that we have campus media that is constantly being critical of what we're doing at the SU and being critical of the university and the sort of decisions and actions that they're taking as well. And I think that's crucial to any institution. I think one thing that we could do a little bit better is making sure that we inform the Gateway about what is going on with the SU and making sure that they're in the know so that they can cover those stories. With CJSR, I think we should be fostering a much better relationship. I think CJSR has the ability to not only reach students on campus, but also reach students at large and even the general public. So I think we do need to foster a much better relationship with CJSR. And I think we also need to use the other forms of campus-based media that we do have, those student-run newspapers and things like that, like the Wanderer, like Le Mouton Noir, like the Lighthouse, connecting with students in their own personal media forms and not just the big ones. So making sure that we do that as well. Thank you.
All right, do we have any more questions from the floor? No? Okay, I'll ask a question to the Vice President Academic. My question is, last year the University of Alberta signed on Access Copyright Agreement. What is your opinion on this agreement? Is there a role for the Vice President Academic with copyright advocacy?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think there is a role for the Vice President Academic in copyright advocacy. Right now, Access Copyrights affects what materials you can and cannot use in your courses and the cost of other materials like course packs. I think the VPA could play a substantially more involved role in making sure that your academic materials are more cost effective. This year, I hope you notice that course packs were a little bit cheaper and hopefully it'll stay that way. University of Calgary's built a subcommittee to deal with access copyright. We don't have anything of the sort. So I'd love to work with the incoming chief librarian. We'll start in the beginning of 2014 to investigate access copyright. The agreement that we've signed on until 2015 and alternatives around that will ultimately see your textbooks cost a little bit less. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, do we have any more questions? No? Okay, I'll ask a question to the Vice President External. When was the last tuition freeze implemented in Alberta? Not the cap on consumer price index, the last tuition freeze.
Sorry, can you say that again?
The question is, when was the last tuition freeze implemented in Alberta? And I'm not talking about the consumer price index cap, tuition freeze, 0%.
That is a hard one. I got to think about that. If I'm not mistaken, it was in 2009. I think I might be wrong on that one, or that would be my best guess. At the end of the day, I mean, tuition was obviously rising past CPI. It was a large issue. Universities couldn't exactly justify charging students more than what something should be going up by, and that's why they implemented the tuition cap, and that's why mandatory non-instructional fees will continue to be a strong platform point, likely in the Vice President External portfolio, because this is something that we've been working on for so long now, and something that has been worked on for so long, and that needs to continue being worked on, because at the end of the day, these fees are not justified. Our university should only be charging us what they have a right to charge us, and there is no excuse for an institution charging students for things that they frankly should not be paying for, as I brought up earlier, like graduate research, and like hallway space, and doorknobs, and at the end of the day, we don't even really know what some of these fees pay for. So it's just ensuring that they are done in an accountable and honest way by the university.
10 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any more questions from the floor? Oh, do we have one? I told you my questions were going to be very boring.
All right. Yeah, so my question is just for the presidential race. I was just wondering what your plan is to encourage student involvement in governance on campus and get students more involved, and as well, like how to, make more of a unified front with students to represent their interests. Thanks.
Thank you. First up is Rosso de Campo.
Hello, sir. You asked that question. Well, my answer to that is that students don't need to be involved in governance. You're all here to study and to eat Subway. Other than that, you don't need to be in government. I need to be in government. So as president, I would make sure that there was zero transparency in the students' union and making sure that no one else can take my position or no one else can have their opinions heard. I'm a horse and I can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sadiq.
Cool. Good question, Leon. The first thing I think is we need to better engage our students. I think we do a lot to engage our students, but we need to better make sure that we can maintain that connection. Engagement is one of those buzzwords that always comes up. We need to make sure to keep those students engaged. When they go to orientation, making sure that we hold them. We make sure that we continue to inform them about what's going on with the Students' Union, which plays into my next point, which is communication, making sure we better communicate with students, making sure we're using all different platforms, all different forms of media. Something I've been trying to do this year a lot on Twitter, making sure that the USU VPSL sort of Twitter handle is always out there and we're always talking about things. And the third thing is actively approaching students, making sure we're actively approaching student group executives, members of student groups, and just generally making sure that we actively approach students and talk to them about what the issues are. Because at the end of the day, we represent students. We don't just come on stage and say what we have to say and then that's it. We're accountable to you, making sure that we're doing what we should do for you.
Thank you. All right, next up is Petros.
Thanks for the excellent question. So I think there are three ways that I would challenge this of getting more students engaged with student governance. First is trying to look at ways that we can reform Students' Council. So I've been on Students' Council for 5 years, and never once was myself or other counselors really asked, like, okay, how can we review Students' Council to perhaps make it more engaging for students' counselors, make it more engaging for those who aren't on Students' Council. I think that's something for us to look into. Try to find ways we can more engage our counselors and those who are on the outside, and better yet, empower our counselors so they can better engage with their constituents as well. The second part is faculty associations, making sure that we're empowering them. And I think this year's Vice President Academic has done a good job of combining Students' Council retreat with the Faculty Associations retreat, or building that bridge a lot closer. And I feel like that's a really good first step that's already happening, and we have to continue on that. The third is expanded communications. Let's make sure that the SU doesn't exist just as sub, but beyond it as well, and that students can see that. So,
thank you. All right, do we have any more questions? No? Okay, I'll ask a question for the presidential race along the same lines of the last question. How would you increase diversity of candidates running in Students' Union elections, not just for the executives, but also for Students' Council and GFC? And we will start with Petros.
So I had a chance to mention this a little bit earlier in the statement I made before about looking at ways that we can improve Students' Council. And I think one of them is that we can better engage them and have close relationships with the executives and the counselors. For instance, at the University of Calgary, they have this thing where counselors draft their own annual goals. They have goals of how they're going to engage with their constituents. They regularly meet with vice presidents, and they see how they can better engage with that. And as a result, I feel like we're going to have a lot more of a diverse council. And with counselors engaging, and we're us empowering them to engage their own constituents, I feel like that's going to bring in a lot more people to be interested in student governance as well. So that's kind of one of the big ways that I feel like I'll be able to challenge this problem of making sure that we have a lot more diversity within our Students' Council.
Thank you. Up next is Horse with a Gun.
All right, I'm going to be honest here. I was not paying attention to the past questions. But what I would like to say is that it's hot to trot. Thank you. That's all I have. That's all I have to say because I kind of fell asleep on that one.
Thank you. Up next is Sadiq.
Good question once again. I think this goes back to the last thing I said for the last question, which is actively approaching students and actively approaching student groups and making sure that we connect with them, provide them with more than just electronic messages and emails and things like that. We have to provide a personal connection for them so that we can encourage them, so we know what they're like, we know what their personality is like, and we can encourage them to go and do certain things in a certain way. I think most of this issue, to this point, the diversity of candidates has really focused on the fact that there are no women in the race currently. But I think the diversity issue goes far, far greater than that. I think the other questions we could ask is how many members of the queer community right now are running? I know of one, but it's been one out of, 9 or 10 candidates, and I don't think that's enough. I think we need to diversify not only our candidates in terms of gender, but also in terms of different areas of campus. And one way to do that is actively engage students.
Thank you. All right. Is there any more questions out there? Nope. Well, that's it. We are done 3 minutes early. I would like to thank all of you for coming to this forum. and remind you that on Monday, March 4th, none of you have classes between 12 and 1. Professors can't have classes during then, and the reason why is because there is a forum specifically for all students at the Meyer Horowitz Theater over there, for all candidates. This is the biggest forum. It's usually the candidates' last chance to get their names out there. So make sure you come to that. And last but not least, make sure you vote on March 6th and 7th. On March 6th, all of you will get an email from me telling you how to vote online. I'll give you the link. So thank you, and thanks for all the candidates, and good luck.